Want to point out we have a guest in the studio, and we were just chatting off there. He is probably a voice familiar throughout the Magic Valley because he used to be sitting here on this side of the microphone. Mike Dahmer joining us in the studio. First of all, welcome. But I've got to turn up your microphone, as you well know. That only works when that's on.
I've heard that before, Mike. And in fact, I've left the mic on, and that's even more embarrassing.
Yeah, we had a conversation about that here the other day. Well, first of all, this is quite a change for you then, running for political office. You're a candidate this year for
Yep.
county commissioner in Jerome, and a big primary coming up. We're less
Yes.
than a month away. Uh, the question I guess most people ask you when they see you, and I mean, obviously you're a familiar face in Jerome County, when they see you is,
What in the heck am I doing?
yeah, why?
I was been looking at the county for quite some time, and I've been on the Republican Central Committee forever, and we have some real problems right now, large ticket spending. And we're the highest tax county in the state. We're the second lowest in income in the state. And we just got to get a hold of this spending. The jail project is 3 months behind and $820,000 in the hole. The sheriff now has 3 boats. We're going to call it McPhail's Navy. The ambulance contract was for 300 grand, and everyone still pays the full ride ambulance bill. And the Eden ambulance is stationed in Station 3 here in Twin. We went from 2 ambulances to 1 ambulance in Jerome. And if you're the second person to need an ambulance in either location, you're in trouble. So, how am I doing on tact and diplomacy so far?
I was going to say, it's somewhat direct, but you're in a political year where that seems
Yeah.
to be very valued.
I think so. And it's about time. My business is basically running on autopilot because of some very fortunate things that happened to me. So, what can we do for the East End? How can we get our county together? They could use some driver's license and some car license services over there, just like Buell has. And they really need that to come together and be part of the county and bring them together. Eden airports can be improved, I think, and that's a pretty big deal.
Do you think that I mean, you mentioned there's a lot of poverty in Jerome County. Do you think that there's been a belief or a view that, well, as Twin grows, it'll eventually, lap over across the river, and we'll see more of it here, and so we just have to be patient, and that'll happen, and that's maybe the route to go? Or do you think that maybe there's a lack of aggression in trying to turn that around?
Well, I think it's our industrial base that we need to improve there. Hylex Poly is one of my favorite companies, very high tech, and bring those kind of industries in. That's the way I think there was a question about how do you increase revenue. You can't increase taxes, but you certainly can increase that tax base and have new industry come in and make it. I'm a Silicon Valley guy. I'm an engineer now, and hey, bring those things in, make them high value businesses, and improve that. You think about it, the entire valley is becoming a one product area, and that's the dairy industry.
When you reference Silicon Valley, one of the things you really need in production is a source of water. Now, we have a river, but we don't necessarily have, well, although this spring I guess has been a little different, but we don't normally have a lot of water in the area. But how could we go about attracting that high tech business here that would really bring those high salaries along?
Well, I think that if you look at the Mid Snake River Conservation District, I looked over the canyon. There is no Mid Snake River anymore, and I went, "Oh, that's cool." Uh, we need water. I know that the yogurt factory over here uses a lot of water. Dairies use a lot of water. There's a lot of high tech businesses that aren't in the micron characteristics where they use a lot of water. Those would be really good to have over here. It doesn't necessarily have to be a resource driven that brings people here. I used to run an electronics plant here many years ago, and it's called Devtronics out south of Twin here. And uh, in running that, we just looked at the people that we had, and the talent pool that's here is really quite amazing because people were moving up from California. The wife worked at pick your favorite Silicon Valley company. She was like a major production line manager or something like that. And there's a lot of talent for that here. We've got a lot of good resources. So I don't think that water is a real issue for those kind of industries. And it's something we put together.
You bring that up. I met a fellow when I first moved here, and I had the folks from Cable One came by the house to do the installation, and the young man who was doing it was a brilliant guy, but he moved here from San Francisco because he said he wanted to raise his kids in this environment versus that environment. You don't blame him if you've got little ones. But on the other hand, and I'm not knocking what people do when they have to install cable or internet. That takes a little bit of skill too, and these
Right.
people usually know what they're doing. But he's not going to make a lot of money doing that, where he probably could have made considerably more in San Francisco and even offset that higher cost of living. We've got those people. I guess it's got to be a little disappointing for some of them, though, that there's not more opportunity here. And how do we reach out and maybe take advantage of the brain power they have? Because some of these people like you could become inventors, and if they invent something, they could turn around and maybe this could be the cradle of that new industry.
I think that's a very good point. I have an office in San Francisco. We wrote not a plug. I wrote an iPhone application, and uh, Disney just bought Industrial Light and Magic. Uh, Disney indicated to their employees that you could either move to Los Angeles or stay in San Francisco and leave the company. And there weren't many people that were looking at leaving San Francisco for Los Angeles. So there's a lot of talent. And after many years, my main animator was interested in moving here. And you remember in the city now, I think you can add a zero to your expenses. You really can. If your car insurance is 400, it's 4,000. If your rent is 900, it's 9 grand, and it really is. Yeah.
Mike Dahmer is our guest on News Radio 1310 KLIX at newsradio1310.com. It's 9:13. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story. And we'll call it 54 on our way to about 84 before the day is over. You mentioned the app. This for a lot of people out there who are looking for people who are unique in politics. Not many people have done that. Specifically, what did you develop?
It's kids game. It's called Block It. If we get the plug in, there's some rules against this, with the FCC.
Yeah, well,
But anyway,
but it gives people a little
yeah,
background that
right.
you're not only just someone who's seeking political office, that you might have some creative juices at work there. Do you think that that's going to be important for anyone who's going to be elected to public office?
Especially in the 21st century. My business has been in Jerome for 40 years, and I electrified chicken coops and wired barns for that. And then when the app happened, it's like a lightning strike. It really was. And that was in 2012. And we're doing really well. And the more I got involved in watching the county commissioners, I said, wait a minute, it's a two-man partnership running right now. They have a lot of controversy going on. Needs to be fixed.
When well, we'll take a telephone call first, and hopefully I'll have time for another question too as well. It's a 9:14, and you're on the air with Mike Dahmer, who's running for, of course, county commissioner in Jerome County. Go ahead.
I was wondering, what would you be fixing since there's not a lot of people? If you notice on the paper today, Jerome doesn't have enough employees to go around anymore. And also the downtown area. I mean, since Walmart showed up, it's been going downhill in handbasket. So, and also the north side of town, when it snows, it's like, I got friends over there that I have to go out there with my four-wheel drive to get them out because they called the city and they said they got no snowplow, no nothing. So I mean, and also the roads by that part of town. I mean, my friend yesterday he busted his Audi, and it's got to be like $6,000 in damage because of the big old potholes. I don't know. We paid 7 cents on the gallon, and before that, the potholes were getting fixed. Now they're not. What's going on?
Well, I agree with you. I think you might be surprised how many employees come out when you bring in something like a good tech business. With respect to Main Street, if I can get all these down, I bought a building on Main Street, rehabbed it, made an office building at it, and 8 months of the gross revenue went to pay some form of tax or fee on Main Street. And I got rid of it. I'm very lucky, actually, that I don't own it anymore. The standard political pothole question, Ed Koch at New York City could probably. No, seriously, potholes, we have highway districts, we have the city, and that needs to be addressed. I had an engineer come into Jerome looking at some traffic, and he said, who's maintaining the roads here? Because they have done various things to save money. Oil was, for roads was in the high $4 a gallon. Maybe that's improved now, and we can start chip and sealing roads again. That'll help the potholes.
Want to thank him very much for the telephone call. And of course, you can't separate the county from the city of Jerome because it's the biggest community. It's however one goes, the other goes, right?
Yeah, I think that we can work together with the city of Jerome and get some organization going there. We've got some duplication, uh, but yeah, we can work well with the city. I think in the economic development, that almost has to be because most of the area for that operation is in the city limits. But you can be instrumental, and I have in this 21st century, I have a pretty good techie background. I speak geek, so I can go out and talk to folks.
You just mentioned that 21st century. We got just under a couple of minutes left. You have a lot of people in government here who've been in government for a long time. Have they? Are they still in the 20th century mentality? Is that a challenge?
I think it is. We're talking about having commissioner meetings over in Eden Hazelton. I don't know. There's probably 45 to 60 commission meetings a year, and yeah, it's high tech. There's no reason why you can't use Skype and use technology to deal with that. Brick and mortar versus brick and mortar came to the commercial industry, what, 10 years ago. Maybe it should come to government now.
I was going to say, the caller brings up that situation of Walmart. Even Walmart is facing that challenge now too, because you have warehouses. I just ordered a television set, and it was put into a truck in Arizona somewhere, and arrived in Salt Lake City the next morning, and by evening was at my house. And those are businesses we could probably try to attract here as well.
Right. I think the Eden Airport, if we could expand that and make it a freight operation, think about that. It's next to the railroad. It's next to the interstate. It's got a east-west approach, so it won't be too obnoxious. But that's 20 years down the road. It's what do we do with that? And there's a lot of FAA money for that kind of expansion. So we can do things like that. We need a long view and a short view.
Now, referencing your tech experience, you likely have a website and a Facebook presence for people who'd like to check those out.
I do. Mike Dahmer Mike Dahmer on Facebook and idahoquad.com. www.idahoquad.com is the business website. My history's there. My resume gets embarrassing after a while based on its length. I've done everything. I've been a cop. I've been an EMT. I've been a river rat. So lots of things that I enjoy. I'm having fun. What can I say? I'm 65 years old and I'm having fun.
When it gets up to a couple of dozen pages.
Yeah, I know.
You tell he was a broadcaster. It's 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for coming by today. And we may be talking again following primary day.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
9:20:56 right now. Hey, I'm going to mention this earlier. The gold, I believe it's Gold King Mine. Big controversy going on right now with the Navajo Nation about the cleanup of that. We're going to touch on that in a few minutes right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.